Oh.
Hi.
I think, should we just get going?
Yes.
I think we should get started. Do you like how I've matched my background?
I was thinking you've got green and a green jumper.
Yeah, and a green book as well. It's all happenstance, but I'm feeling confident about it.
Amazing. Cool. So we are live. And it is Demandism 2. Really excited to bring you, a second instalment of us talking about our journey from lead generation to demand generation. We've got a lot to cover today, which I hope is going to be really valuable. But please do answer questions throughout. We had a couple submitted early before we got going in session, which I've already put into the deck that we're going to use to keep us on track today. So we'll answer that sort of midway through. And then we're going to be covering things like, is there still a place for SEO in the modern demand gen era? How you can approach blog content and B2B content more generally to build demand. Email nurtures. Again, this is something that's more traditional marketing, but is there a place for it in this whole more modern demand generation philosophy? And then we're going to get a really actionable use case of how we launched a paid demand generation experiment that's been very successful for us. And as I said as well, just please do shoot across any questions that you might have as we go, and we'll try and keep it very interactive. So I'm going to try and attempt to share my screen, but just bear with me because it's the first time screen share had an issue. Do you know what? I thought that might be a case.
Do you want me to do?
Yeah. Do you have the deck, or do you want me to send you the link?
It's on that it's on media if we want to use that, and then we don't have to.
Let's do that.
If I just do it now, that.
Okay. There we go. Sorry, guys. Okay. Next slide, please. Amazing. So kicking us off, we're going to talk about SEO. So I think this is an interesting one, and we'll be very transparent. We've taken the demand generation philosophy straight out of Chris Walker and Refine Labs playbook, and he is not someone who is a massive advocate of SEO or investing in SEO or investing in traditional blog content. And so I just thought it was an interesting one to talk about because I still really believe that there is a place for SEO in the new demand gen era. And it's just about thinking of it in terms of where it sits within the demand gen strategy. So I like to think of it in two ways. You have your bucket one, which is you're capturing your demand. That's 1% of your total market that are actually in market at any one time. And then you have your bucket two, which is the 99% of your market. That's everyone else who's you need to be creating awareness for. Now, SEO is a tool for capturing the existing demand. So it plays into that whole 1% bucket one. And in terms of prioritizing where you should focus on, because you know this, it's a very similar approach to kind of your Google ads and optimizing those and keeping them super relevant. It's all of the high intent stuff. So your key competitor comparison pages, these are things that actually are really powerful when you start out early doors as well, to ride on the back of better known brands. You can do things like three-way comparisons between yourself and your two largest competitors who are much better known than you. And this will help you pick up brand traffic from them. And I think the key is when you're doing these tactics, do them really in a different way. Take the human approach, all the good stuff that we talk about in demand gen. Don't write for Google, don't write robotically. Be human when you're comparing yourselves. Don't be overly negative. Be completely honest and transparent, and use these as opportunities to apply the playbook, but just change up the way that people are doing things. But I still think there's a massive place for it. We actually get up to 20 direct demo requests from some of those comparison pages a month, don't we? And once you start scaling that, it's just compounded impact. There is a lot of value in capturing that 1% by really, investing into that early on. And then the other place I would invest when it comes to SEO is your highest intent, highest converting paid search terms. So launch your Google ads, high intent, high quality search terms, understand which ones convert at the highest rate, and then prioritize SEO content based on those. And that's something that we've done as well. And you need to prioritize getting in position 1 to 3 for those key search terms. And if you just do competitors, highest intent, highest converting paid search terms, and then a few long tail high intent searches, you'll be in a really good spot. We're not saying we do invest a lot in SEO and we've seen a lot of compounding returns from it, but I'm not saying you necessarily need to do that But I do believe that there's a lot of value in capturing that 1% that is out there looking and searching for terms that are super relevant to what you do. And this is a good way of prioritizing how you focus your efforts on that. Don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add on that front.
No, that's
No.
good.
Covered it well. But yeah, no, just to reiterate, I think for us, especially in like focusing on large companies, these like competitor pages have become super key for us in terms of intent. And I think I wasn't paying such a close eye on them initially, and now like I'm just saying the more we work on them, the higher return we're getting. So I suppose it's like what you always tell us, Alice, like the whole don't set and forget. These pages do need constantly like updating to drive that traffic. So that would be my only point.
I think that's a really important point, actually, and it is all about prioritization. So in the early days, you need to think about like when you're getting your demand gen motion up and running, you want to invest overly in the 1% first. Any tactic that's going to get you converting that 1% that's in market demand, because that's what's going to keep you afloat while you build out everything you're doing on the 99%, which will then ultimately increase the amount of demand you bring in that 1%. So and it's really important, like these things aren't set and forget. None of these strategies are. Like anything that we talk about needs time investment. So you do need to think about like what resources required and where to put it. But I would always say just these 3 bits to focus on when it comes to SEO. And then if we could go to the next slide, we can talk about blog content, because this is another one which I think is interesting. And you'll find like Chris Walker, Refine Labs, that kind of approach, they don't prioritize blog content. It's not something they, would spend a lot of time and energy on. And we've definitely been on a journey with this at Cognism in terms of like its place within our strategy and like how we look at it. We definitely were, we could have been criticized, like when I started, for using our blog as the same sort of thing. We'd plan it out for sort of 3 months in advance. We would decide on titles, we would commit to them, we would post the blog, and then we'd share it on LinkedIn, and then we would just forget about it. And it would just like that would be job done and the KPI hit. And that was all we really cared about. And there was no real strategy behind it. And we know that that's not what our blog should be about anymore. And it's probably important to note that in terms of how I've structured the team, the content team, we've actually split the team. So we have our SEOers, and this, SEO is a really technical, detailed, skill, and you can't really do both of the things that I'm going to talk about. And you do need focus. So we have our SEOs in the content team, and then we have what I call like our content journalists who are building out our media engine. And our blog, it just becomes a key part of that broader media engine strategy. We don't forward plan our blog content and ideas like going like months in advance or even weeks in advance. There's no KPI on output. It should be written. We want all of our blog posts to be written by dedicated content writers that actually act as journalists. And they're becoming complete subject matter experts in these areas, or they're interviewing our subject matter expert to get that quality content for them. And it becomes, I think the reason why I still believe that blog content is valuable is it's great to have all these amazing snippets and videos and other forms of content that you're putting out on paid social or organic social, but it's not always on searchable. And I think a big part of the philosophy around demand generation and like modern marketing is, as we know it, that we can't tell people what to consume when anymore. And like people want to consume stuff in their own time, at their own pace. And we'll talk about this later as well. So it actually makes it really hard when the only place that you're showcasing that content is like in the moment in feed. And then you need to go to someone's profile, whether it be company or person, click through their post history to try and find that great snippet that, really resonated with you a couple of weeks back. That's really time consuming. What we want to create at Cognism is that the blog becomes that searchable, always on hub for where all of that content lives and actually feeds the machine that then delivers it in feed in moment. But they don't have to go back there to search and find that content. I feel like if you aren't doing that, you're kind of missing a trick. So that's why I do feel like with the blog, it's super important to have it. You just need to rethink the strategy, and you need to rethink what you're trying to achieve with it. And you can see on the graph, like since we've done that, kind of from November time last year, the massive uptake we've had on unique page views and also average time on page, which is like our biggest KPI. That's what tells us the content that we're putting out, the content that we're writing about is actually resonating. It is timely. it is journalistic and it's kind of fulfilling all of the strategy there. Do you guys have anything more to add?
No, I think you've got that one covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also means that you get like, I think like the demand gen team and the content team work together really well, because if we, like they're, as like journalists, I'll be looking out for the story and stuff, but obviously we come across things that we want to talk about that we think's really cool as well. And the whole company can be. So then it's like everyone has a bit more of an input into that content, which I think is really important in comparison to that sort of like stereotypical planned out 6 months in advance, really rigid content plan that is just writing stuff that's not exactly the most interesting thing for now and what people actually want to read about. But yeah, I think that's something I'd add. Just it gets the whole team involved in the content process.
Yeah, and it is hard to do, right? We need to be honest about it. It's easier because we are marketing to marketers and salespeople, so we have a lot of internal resource that's subject matter experts. We also have a subject matter expert that sits in the marketing team, but it takes a lot more effort to do it this way, right? Than just to say, I'm going to do desk research on a topic and cover it, put it on the blog, post it on my LinkedIn, and there we go, job's done. But you can see the payoff in terms of what, like the difference in traffic, the difference in time on page and engagement. Ultimately, that's what we want. We want our content to be consumed, so it is worth it. You just need to like invest.
I think, yeah, that's definitely true. For us, since we've, as an enterprise, like little marketing pod working on the enterprise segment, it's amazing like how many like ideas are born out of speaking to your own sales team in terms of what prospects are saying, listening to customer calls, and we say it like all the time, like it's super important. But that's where we've got our like real newsworthy, like juicy pieces from, where it's been like, okay, we've listened to X amount of calls, we've spoken to our sales team, our customers are saying this, our prospects are mirroring that. And it's kind of almost like they help you to identify what topics to go after first. So I'd say like spending that initial time and investment in doing that research is key, even if sometimes it feels like it's taking forever.
Yeah, and then ultimately, if you just do if it's one blog that you end up doing that month, but it's top quality, that is so much better than having a KPI of 4 a month that actually no one, like barely anyone's reading, and they just go to like the blog graveyard somewhere. So yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next piece, which I think is actually one of your questions that we had pre-session. So I just wanted to answer this. Do you mind moving to the next slide? It was around how to structure your team and what skill sets we need in like a demand generation organization. Obviously, preface this with the fact that we're really lucky. We're a team of 20 plus now. But when Liam and I started out the team, you know, we were 3 or 4 people. So it wasn't always that way. But just to give you an idea of like what to keep, I would say I definitely would want to have in-house and what you could outsource and how we kind of split that. We have a content team. We have, as I said, the writers, those are the journalistic people. And obviously you can scale that, you know, as much as your company, in line with your company is scaling. And then we have our SEO pros. Again, that can be scaled in line with your company scaling. But I would split them out. I would have focus. I think that's really important. And I also think if you are serious about a demand gen strategy and approach, then video has to be a part of that as well. And we have that sitting in our content team. And then product marketing. So again, I would say this is like an incredibly important role. It has to be internal. They are your avenue for success, for understanding your customers inside out, for understanding your messaging, your positioning, for delivering you amazing bottom of funnel content and product content that you're going to run on all of your demand gen campaigns. So product marketing for us is like a critical piece of the puzzle. And I'd want that in that team from like the absolute outset. Customer marketing. So we're really lucky that we're investing heavily in customer marketing. We've got to a size now where we have like, you know, thousands of customers, and we really want to make sure that we're treating them in the way that they deserve to be treated, and we're actually delivering the same amount of quality content and advice to our customers as we are in our new business plays. So customer marketing feed us a lot of our advocacy content, and they're a super powerful driver in our demand gen strategy as well. So it can really play into both worlds. And then paid. This has been an interesting one for us. We've flip-flopped over time with having this freelance, having this in-house. ultimately, if you have it freelance, you need to expect to pay good money for it. It's not set and forget. So any agency that says they can do it for a small amount of money are probably not going to do it very well. So if you are going to freelance it, I would recommend using something like Marketer Hire or something like that, where you can get really high quality expert working on it for you. But the thing that you will lose out on is having them be in your CRM and having them optimized for like what really matters, which ultimately is revenue. So I would say we would still always lean to having this in-house where possible, but that is one of those that's difficult because a lot of these paid guys are either working on their own or they are in agencies. So find someone great and keep them there would probably be my top tip there. And then the demand gen unit. So this is like the engine house, and this is where we've split it. So this is slightly changed since I put the slide on because we move very quickly here at Cognism. We only have 2 segments now, which is commercial and enterprise, but we had it split out SMB and mid-market plus, so slightly renamed, but the same thing applies. Mid-market plus, which is now enterprise, that's a pod, that's Fran's whole world. And she can cover that a bit more later in terms of how that operates. We've got SMB, and then we have got the DAC market split out because that operates very separately. It's very different, very localized to how everything else works. And then we have our enablement piece. And I mentioned this subject matter expert, which we are really lucky to have. We've been trying it for the last quarter and we've kept them on now for another quarter. We're actually doubling up the amount of time we're spending with them this quarter to see if we can ramp it even further. But that subject matter expert powers everything across the whole spectrum of the marketing organization. So like an incredibly valuable asset, especially if you're marketing in an area where you are not your customer and it's really hard to get those insights. So previously I was doing legal tech, imagine having a lawyer full-time work in your marketing team, helping you to drill out all of that content. I mean, it's like incredibly valuable. And then the next slide is just to look at where I think you can outsource. So operations, we actually have found like a really good combination here. We have a marketing ops, we have a RevOps team, which sits separately to marketing, and we have a marketing ops person in-house. I think that's really important, but we actually have outsourced to an agency a lot of the more big picture stuff. They're seeing instances and value that knowledge can bring in terms of speeding up your learnings and speeding up what you prioritize and what you build is huge. So I feel like a winning combination there is to have agency plus an in-house A player. That would be like my 2 cents on that. And then I've covered Google Ads, and then CMS and web development. We still have this external. We don't have it internal, but we have invested a lot of time and energy on our CMS system, making it very scalable for ourselves. Like we've created a lot of templates and it's easy for us to access and use and scale. So we don't need a lot of support there. So I think that's also something to think about. Obviously, if you've got a more cumbersome setup and you might need someone full-time in-house. And then I've just put the last one to be innovation. So we're very happy to say we're recently a client now of Refine Labs. And this was we've just got to a stage of growth where we've been, running the Refine Lab strategy just purely off listening to Chris Walker's podcast and whatever we can externally learn. And we had like a, sign off for a good number of heads that we could have put into place in H1 of this year, but at the same time, hugely aggressive targets and budgets that were going towards marketing. And it was my feeling that in terms of scaling up a team and actually being able to hire the right talent in that time to have an impact on the targets wasn't the right approach. And we needed to learn faster. It's a bit like the whole operations piece. Like it would be much better for us to bring on Refine Labs. We could stop guessing some of the more actual details of the things that we're doing and learn much quicker from people who are working on this every day for SaaS companies like us, scaling at our speed. And so it was kind of a no-brainer at this stage to actually outsource some of that innovation. And now all of our team will be upskilled as a result of that. So we're really excited. It's very early days, but we'll keep you posted on how that's going as well and like how we work with them as that moves forward. And that's enough from me. So I think we're going to move on to another slide and I can stop talking.
I think it's mine actually.
Yes. Here we go, Fran.
Thank you. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the paid experiments we've been running, and just provide everybody with something just super tactical and hopefully some key takeaways. So I hope this is useful. So paid experiment that we've launched recently last quarter. So just to define what I mean and we mean, in sometimes I don't want to confuse people with internal sort of naming conventions. So for us, a paid experiment is a paid ads campaign that is focused on generating direct demo requests. So we've just added like an example of something that we would typically run on LinkedIn. So and also we do the same across other channels such as Facebook as well. But for the purpose of this, I'm just going to focus on our LinkedIn experiment that we ran. So can you go to the next slide, please, Liam? Thank you. So this is what we decided to test and why. So a typical ad, as you can see on the slide. So it's your standard best practice. It's communicates ROI, gives like the most up-to-date data, and we aim to be like really value-driven. And we basically put these out to our ICP or like to a retargeting audience, and then invite them for a demo. So it's your typical request a demo at the bottom. We kind of got thinking about this, particularly for the enterprise segment as well, because we aren't as well known in that market. So we kind of thought, right, what can we do? So I've just detailed them here, but although we're communicating the great benefits of using Cognism, do our audience know what it's like to have a demo, like from us? Should a demo be the only way people can find out exactly what our product looks like, what it feels like, what workflows you can use? And do our audiences only consume via static ads, which is a definite no, especially these days. So answer to all of that is no. So if we go to the next slide. So this is kind of like what we introduced. So the idea was to provide an ad that was more human, showcased our product a lot more. We didn't want to particularly shy away from that, and maybe just stand out a little bit, right? So I think we see everyone is on their phones on LinkedIn all of the time. There's a lot of ads like inviting people for a demo. So we were trying to think outside the box, and we did a lot of research and looked at what other companies were doing, and sort of went with this approach. So we asked our director of inside sales to record a video, and there he is, lovely Dave Bempfum. He'll love me for adding this screenshot. So basically, the video calls out our retargeting audience. So we decided just to focus it on a retargeting audience. He mentions, so he recognizes that, right? So he mentions that, that we know they've engaged with us like previously in some way. He explains what to expect from a demo, like explains why it might be worth somebody's time. People get emails like daily inviting them to demos all the time from many different SaaS companies. He also objection handles, so tries to explain that we want our audience to view a demo as an opportunity to learn from us and answer questions that maybe we haven't been able to answer already. So we don't, we want to communicate that it isn't a hard sell. And then also delivers the core value proposition, so what it actually is, like why it's worth signing up. So that's sort of part one. So we got Dave he bought a camera and recorded this video, which was nice. And then there was a second part to the experiment, which is on the next slide. Thank you, Liam. So paid experiment part 2. We actually also decided to record an ungated product demo. So show not tell, be pain point led. We didn't want to, on this part, we didn't want to necessarily use the classic direct demo CTA. We went for sign up instead. So the reason behind this is, and we get this objection a lot, should you really be putting a demo out there, showcasing like the whole of your product? Does it stop people signing up for a demo anyway? Like for me, and we've talked about this a lot, the answer is no. Like we don't have anything to hide. We want people to view our product. Like, we're proud of like what we're marketing, so I don't know why we would necessarily want to hide that. And if people are genuinely interested and do think we can solve that pain point, then they will definitely, they're going to sign up for a 30-minute meeting with sales regardless. So we decided to also do that. So we've got a video from our sales director, and then we've got an ungated product demo as well. So if we just go to the next slide. The setup. So this is how we set it up. Thanks. So just to get a little bit into the nitty-gritty, and obviously happy to answer questions if anyone has any, because I know I'm probably whizzing through this. But this is how we chose to set it up. So we've, just to set the scene, we've got a video to go live, and we've got an ungated snippets of our ungated product tour to go live as well. So we're setting it up on LinkedIn. We decided to test 2 objectives. So why not run it as a lead gen form? So you're almost signing up for a demo, like in platform. And then we also use the traditional web conversions approach. So click for a demo, go to your website, fill out the form. So we wanted to kind of like test those against each other. So audience-wise, we used our website retargeting audience. Just to note, like, we didn't segment this any further. We have tested this previously, but it's just really good for me, like, to achieve like enough volume. And what we used to do is keep segmenting the retargeting audience a lot, like by quite a lot. So the audience pool would become like really small, and it then becomes very difficult, especially on LinkedIn, to actually optimize this. So we kept it as one big retargeting audience. Campaign objectives, as I just spoke about. So we had the traditional website conversion, but then we also wanted to test a lead gen form. Things like for ease, like a different way of like directing your audience. Your details will auto populate as well. It could be you're signing up in platform. We know people consume like a lot more in feed. So it's kind of that thinking is that a more comfortable experience, for example. So that was the reason why we tested one against the other. Ads, so we ran 2 versions of Dave's video and 2 versions of our ungated product tour, and that was just to serve the lead gen objective and the website conversion objective. Budget-wise, so I've put this recommendation, but everyone's budgets are totally different. $50 to $100 per day. You can also test on less. It doesn't have to necessarily be this much. I guess the thing to note about budget is we used to put low daily budgets on experiments. So we'd run it on a 2-week cycle. So we do $10 a day or $20 a day, maybe less. And the idea was that we thought that would help the experiment. It would optimize for longer. We'd get more data. And really, now thinking about it, we just want to test as quickly as possible and reach as many of our audiences as soon as possible, and also hit that frequency number right as well, because people don't usually just sign up from seeing your ad once. So we look to just place higher daily budgets, so whatever that might look like for you, and then we serve it for like a shorter period of time, but then we can start switching off what's working and putting more budget into what is. So for me, like, my recommendation is test on a shorter cycle, and then you'll sort of, I don't know, like, I used to just let the experiment run for sort of weeks, and by that time you've exhausted the budget and you've not really got that data to show for it. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Next slide, please. Thank you. Thanks. So we did that, and these are the results that we had. So this was our number 1 performer out of the 2. So basically, just to talk about the objectives, so like the website conversion versus the lead gen form conversion. The lead gen form sort of sign up. The website conversion actually won. So we realized that maybe the lead gen form, it was just an idea that we had, but the data showed that it didn't work as well. So we found that the campaigns that optimized for like the web conversions, like the website, the website conversions got us more conversions. I'm stumbling over my words, we saw a 225% increase in conversions based on like a normal static ad that we would run to our retargeting audience. And then also like the captions that work best that we used communicated the value, but I think Alice alluded to it earlier, is that human element. So explaining that a demo is an opportunity to learn, there's no hard sell. And also a point to note, like when Dave recorded his video, I gave him a lot of direction and a lot of ideas and a little pretty hefty sort of script actually, and was like, this is what you need to be saying. And actually, Dave tried to record it so many times and he was getting a little bit frustrated because he was trying to get it pitch perfect. And he just recorded an off the cuff video in his own words, and he made a little mistake, like at the end, like was stumbling over his words, like a little bit like I was before. And that was like the best performing video by far. And I think it just shows that like just being honest and human is definitely the way to go. So that video definitely, yeah, I've written here, like we fluffed his lines, but it's the one that got us the most conversions. Also positive for us is we saw conversions from 1,000+ companies. So when you're heading up the enterprise marketing, this is a relief to see because it's tough to get these like big companies through the door. So we didn't see loads. It was only a couple, but it's like positive sign that that audience were responding. So yeah, and that's kind of where we were, where we sort of, that's what we found. This is kind of like where we are with this experiment. So we've put more budget now into Dave's video, and also this product demo video as well, which worked really well. It was actually, we have a landing page with like the full product demo on it, but this was like a little snippet. And this snippet that we ran as an ad worked particularly well because it just focused on one pain point, and a pain point that particularly resonates with our sales audience, which is eliminating manual research. And because it had this like super laser sharp focus, I think that's why it's got the conversions. And yeah, when we've seen like signups and demo requests from that. So I think again, advice would be like where you can keep it simple with the messaging. It's really easy to say, well, I can solve all of these pain points, or maybe you've got like different products that can also serve like your ICP, but I would always advise like focus on one. And if you need to focus on the others, like run them in a separate ad, because it's really difficult, I think, to consume when you're trying to be all things to all people, right? So yeah, so that's the experiment that we ran. I hope that's been helpful and maybe sparked some ideas for you guys, but open to any questions later on.
Should I?
If you've got any, but yeah, crack on, Liam. I think.
Yeah, because I was wondering, or do you want to go through any of the questions that are in the chat?
That's a question.
Yeah.
How do you distribute blogs? So this is a great question. So okay, the key here is that it is not. We never now. We'll just go to LinkedIn, link the blog, link just link the blog, link like the pull through image, and be like, job done. We've done that once. Post it on LinkedIn, like blog distributed. That's not what we do at all. So what we're trying to do with our blogs is that, as I said, but they form like a key part of that media engine. So the blog should actually have video snippets within it. It should have actionable takeaways within it, like potentially templates, other things. And then from that, we end up having a super rich resource that we can use in 3 or 4 different LinkedIn posts. And what we find that performs the best are carousels. So again, this takes a lot more time, but our, the member of the team who heads up social media, she'll spend a lot of time taking some of the most valuable points from the blogs, putting them into carousels, and having them be consumed in feed for those people who are scrolling LinkedIn, don't want to leave LinkedIn right now, but actually could do with like, a couple of nuggets from the blog that would be really interesting to them. They might copy and paste the link to that blog, that post into their Slack or whatever it might be to read the full thing at a later date. That's what I do all the time. But in that moment, they're able to consume a substantial amount of content that we've broken up into a digestible format that they can take on board in feed in LinkedIn. And LinkedIn's our primary channel for that. We've experimented with like Reddit and other things that were taking a lot of time and energy. But ultimately, if you can double down on doing LinkedIn really well, I think that's better. And then we also use like key people within the organization's profiles as well, which we can help by pushing out some of that content. And then also the newsletter. So we have 3 newsletters. We have a sales digest, which is all around sales content digest, all content led about everything we're doing in content marketing. And then we have our demand gen newsletter. So we will take those blogs that have performed the best, we feel like have got the most valuable content, and we can repurpose them into content for the newsletter. Or it might be that actually we write for the newsletter first, which is often what we do because we want to give our newsletter audience like first view on these things, and then we might repurpose that into a blog, and then we might snippet it up for LinkedIn. So there's just lots of different ways in which you can approach that. And that would be that's really the key motion on distribution for blogs. But we lead with value. We never, ever just do article link, pull through image, tiny bit of blurb. Like it just doesn't work. You have to go to our LinkedIn, look at our posts. Those are the formats that are working for us. Carousels, long form content, and then a nice video underneath as well. Those are really the 2 things that work really, really well. So recommend that. Anything else from you guys on that?
Nope.
Okay.
How did you scale the marketing team before or after the Series C? So before, and it's been gradual. Like it's not ever something that just happens overnight. Really lucky that we have a CEO who believes in marketing. He invests very heavily in it, and he's always been happy for us to invest in that way and invest in our people. So we've been able to build out like a very good team for our size. And I would say in terms of how I've approached that, it has been focusing on like we had to have product marketing, we had to get that right, and we had to have some generalists in the demand generation team, and then we had to have some very good content people. And those were like the pillars for me that I wanted to get right early doors. And then through that, you can scale the rest. Like what are the things that are working for you? What are the key strategies and drivers that are delivering you the most revenue? And it might be that it's SEO and content, or it might be that actually it's a lot of your demand gen play and you need to double down there. So, you really need to kind of work that out for whatever that your organization looks like. But I would say that you want to definitely invest in those 3 areas early on. That would be the priority from my view. Anything else? I don't know, you guys?
I don't think so. I would say like from previous companies that I've worked at, I think there's definitely been a lack of the product marketing efforts, and or they've been there, but the relationship, they haven't sat like maybe like necessarily within our team, and we haven't worked as directly as we should have. And I've seen like particularly over the last like 6 to 8 months, like the impact that has had on our bottom of funnel content. We're talking more openly about our product and all, everything that it can do. And I think it just really helps to align the team and gives us like great ideas as well. So
I'd also add in how much, and maybe we got this a little bit later, but like marketing ops and how much that has taken us like that bit further, and like set us up to actually scale and for success. And that was something like at the beginning, like we managed, but now has made like a huge difference having someone who's really hot on that and is really taking the team further.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we go into your bit. Emails. Yes. Liam loves the email, so it's going to be good.
Email from the very beginning was me. Which actually, so I'm sort of like structuring this kind of like, I suppose then and now, and what I think is like an email playbook based off of what is really like a lead gen model. And what we're all like, especially when I was started out, like what we're all trained to do and told to do, and like how email is supposed to work in that. But actually, that you find when you really look at it, and when you start looking at it from like a demand gen lens, that it's not really appropriate. It doesn't really work for like how people buy or anything like that. So, but when we started anyway, we were plowing on ahead with the the usual playbook, the lead gen sort of playbook. So we were generating a huge amount of contact data from our lead gen campaigns in from LinkedIn, especially. And what we did was we blended like email really well and like created an email nurture for pretty much every piece of content that we had going, based out on themes. Some of them are quite complex, trying to sort of like account for like nurture everything before we sent it over to sales. And it was hugely time consuming and a lot of work, but it was like what was, typically best practice. But we stopped doing that. And why? Because obviously there's no intent on the lead gen form fill. So the email engagement has really no effect on the propensity to buy, if we're honest. We, used to sell sort of like this touch points idea, right? That the more touch points you had, the more likely they're going to book a meeting and stuff like that. But really, like, if you're only getting like 20% of people open an email on a good day, do those touch points really exist? They've just downloaded a piece of content. It doesn't mean that they're then going on to buy. It was a huge amount of upkeep for negligible reward. Like every time we sort of looked into whether, if they'd passed through a nurture rather than gone directly to a sales rep, whether that increased any conversion rates, like that we couldn't find anything. And there's a lot of emails to write. We have different marketing personas, so we want them to receive different email, like different personas between marketing sales. We want people to receive different emails based on that. We got downloading different content. We want them to continue that theme. It was just a lot of work. And then that continues to get more complex as you scale and your content engine gets better and better and you create more and more content. So it really was like, it's a lot of work to keep upkeep. So we really couldn't, keep it going without, investing in the team to do that. And then we wanted to, in general, always want to reduce the amount of emails we send people, right? Because sending an email is like, email marketing is super personal. And we don't want to be a company that's spamming people and just coming, like, I think at one point, sometimes you like realize that you've seen that someone's been sent like 4 emails in a day and that's just really way too many. So that's like another reason why we wanted to stop. And then the main thing there is, and why it doesn't have any effect, I think, on people's propensity to buy, is because the buying funnel is not actually linear and email nurtures are not how people buy. You don't see an email and think, I'm going to wait 2 days and then hope that you see another email that might convince you. It just doesn't work like that at all. You might make all of your decisions in 5 minutes, or you might take a month and you might miss several emails in the sequence. So it just it doesn't make sense in today's world. And I do actually think it was they're just set up for the tech companies selling them rather than for how people buy at all. But I still think there's a place for email nurtures, and there's still a different way of delivering a message. It's just how you execute them. So what we do now is we've simplified the number of email nurtures that we have, and we've made them like a lot more general. For one, which helps us massively on the on like the amount of work that we put in. And we like to try and take the nurture beyond email. So, those people who have fallen into that nurture, like we want to deliver them ads as well. So we've added like that sort of element to it. So we've uploaded lists into and got match lists on Facebook and LinkedIn and served people ads alongside the same theme of the nurture there. I'll also talk about like another idea where we're looking at taking that nurture on demand and like putting it on like a landing page as well for people to access as and when they want to, rather than on this specified schedule that we've given them in the nurture. So when we simplify our nurtures, we look at like our we've created a closed lost ops nurture, which is automated and triggers after 3 months of a closed lost. We have like an inbound nurture, which triggers immediately after someone submits a demo request. Then we categorized a lot of the other data that we have in the CR and part of like an marketing automation. It's like general nurture for sort of all those post webinar and any like remaining lead gen that we've got, and then we've got like a life cycle nurture which we trigger on scores and stage, and then campaigns for renewal and expansion as well. It's keeping them super simple, super tight with like a real purpose for each one. So what we changed, and the main thing is because we were collecting less emails, so we don't actually warrant endless email nurtures as well. We can spend more time and make them more on like fewer and better ones. And we want to like focus on impacting at like actual stages of the buying process as opposed to just kind of trying to create touch points. So here's there's some examples from like the inbound nurture there. So and some of them are just super simple, right? It's all about just like really having an effect, like the right effect that you want at the time of that buying process. And if someone submits a demo, we instantly want to thank them for that, give them another way of reaching out to us if anything gets lost. And we also want to get them to take other positive actions, the things that they might find helpful as well, like following us on social, so that we can and if we get them to follow us on social, then we've got another way of communicating with them, not just relying on email. So some of what I would say is emails best practices and things that I would put into the email nurture. Maybe my best practices for an email nurture now is things to avoid is any forms or data capture. I think I was different to this, and the amount of emails you see where you click on something and it will still take you through to a form, and it's just because you want to see that they've taken an action or do something and register it, but you've already got their data. Don't put them through anything more. For me, that's just like a big no. Any early product or demo requests, if they haven't already submitted one, like I think people are like, how often would you? I think the best way to look at it is how often would you buy from an email just that comes up asking if you want to submit a demo. It's much like running demo ads to cold audiences on social media. It doesn't work. People aren't in their inbox looking to submit demo requests, as they don't go on social media to do the same. So I don't see there's any point in that unless it's like a signing off email where you're just saying sort of you're goodbye and you're just giving someone an option to find out more. And then any email that is just boring, basically boring or spammy, there's no point. I think when you're going into someone's inbox, it's like you're taking a step into their living room and you've got to take your shoes off and make an impact and be super exciting. It's super personal, and I just think if you come in and you're boring or spammy or something, you're either just going to be irrelevant to someone or annoy them, if anything. And then things that I would definitely focus on is value, not promotion. Like I said, you're stepping into someone's living room. You want to be offering them something upfront always. And the actions you're asking, if you're going to ask them to take any actions, you want them to be light and of purpose to them. Fun, engaging copy. So this is the first email in the green box, is the first email that comes out from our closed ops nurture. We follow like a dating theme, like someone's they've just broken up with us and we're actually not okay with it, but we're pretending that we are. Now we get great responses from this. We actually have revived quite a few opportunities from it as well. It's 3 months after the opportunity is lost. People love it just because it comes into their inbox and it's actually it's something different. It makes them laugh. They can engage. We've got a really small action asked there again to get them to follow us on social. So we've got another way of keeping them in contact. And by having such fun, engaging copy on the email, it means that people want to see more of what we've got on social. I think the other thing is that email is really hard to share, it goes into someone's inbox. It's not like on social where you could just comment something, or you can actually, and that would share it automatically with their network, or they can share it themselves. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't aim to be shared. So you want to be able to like write an email that's worth them like forwarding on to someone else, or in this case of this email, and this has happened a couple of times, but this one really went viral, it's then shared again on LinkedIn, and now everyone's seen this email, and we're really like, it's like great content then, because it's like we've like managed to get it just from the individual person's inbox out to the world as well for loads of people to see. And then I think if you're going to do any sort of like offers, or you want people to take, or you're trying to get them to take action, it's great. And if you look at like, I always like compare this to B2C, like, and B2B, and we should look to B2C for like more ideas. And like emails that I respond to and I know that work are promotional offers, ones that sort of reward you for being in the sequence, right? You've somehow ended up here, and if you're going to email me, I want something special, and that's when people respond. So I think promotional offers are a great thing to deliver via email, and then just trying to get people to take any other positive actions. So we'll just like, sometimes the ask will be something as small as following social, you know, why don't you check out our podcast and subscribe, follow, like the same for like newsletters, things like that. Really small actions that are actually just equally beneficial to both of us, like you and the prospect. I think they're great ways to use email as well. And then finally, I'll go over sort of future plans and ideas. So something that we've been thinking about based, and I think Alice found this post on social from Mikhail, like talking about how one of the main problems with nurtures, and I discussed this earlier, is that they, you know, it's all to your schedule, and it doesn't really take into account the prospects at all. So, and I was thinking about this in terms of like TV, how you have TV on like live TV on schedule, but then you have it on demand, and there's nothing to say why you can't do the same for email nurtures and create an on-demand nurture, where you can lead people there via email, but they can consume the information as and when they want. And that's but you could also still have that nurture running in the background with individual messaging and stuff, but not prescribing someone to read the content when you want them to, always linking back to this on-demand nurture. And this is something we really want to try and build something really engaging for. So that's like a next step for us. And we're also looking at sort of email nurtures to ops based on their stage as well, to help expand the reach within the buying committee. So this is where you can really use email data or contact data, if you've got it, to try and like grow an account using nurtures as well, and would probably want to apply the sort of on-demand sort of like element to that as well to really make it work. And that is me, really.
Amazing. Good timing as well, because I've got a date with Chris Walker. I'm going live with Refine Labs. So
dreams do come true, Alice.
Hop off here and get back over there. I'm going to be talking about our journey from lead generation to demand gen. So that'll be cool. But I hope that was interesting for everyone. Please feedback to us. Like, we really want to evolve these sessions so they're as helpful as possible. We did more PowerPoint this time. Don't know if that worked for you or not. Let us know.
There's a lot of slides, wasn't there?
Right. So if that doesn't work, please let us know. And yeah, we're going to keep these going. So a couple of weeks time, we'll do another one, and we'll get super tactical again and deep dive some other topics. And again, reach out, let us know if there's things that you specifically want us to go into detail in. Any ways we can improve. We're here to help you guys. And yeah, hopefully it was a good session. You enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks everyone. And thanks Fran, thanks Liam. Speak to you later.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if you don't, if we haven't been able to answer any questions, or you think of any, please do like reach out to us on LinkedIn and drop us a message, and we'll be more than happy to reply. Yeah, so thank you.